Our key word for that is partnership. We believe that to meet citizens where they are, we need to partner with influencers of citizens. And one of the key agenda that we have is working with the creative industry to be able to reach citizens where they are. And the idea is that we know and we understand that the fight against corruption cannot be done only at the political level. Citizens have to be mobilized. In fact, action against corruption have to be crowdsourced. And that is why one of the key agenda we have worked with before now, in what we talk about our P's, is the use of public mobilization strategies like working with talents and creative. We also use creative platforms. For instance, if you know one campaign, we work with Big Brother Africa, broadcasting to almost 8 million people, 80 million people, and then we thought that if we bring our messages on such platform, more people will hear about the things that we think are very important. Apart from that also, we do a lot of partnership with CSOs that are working at the grassroots. At the country level, we try to identify the CSOs who have links with the communities, and then we'll be able to engage them in partnership to promote the same messages. And at the end of the day, we try to aggregate their voices and then, transmit that message to policymakers. Finally, we do a lot of online campaigning because we know that we can reach a lot more people, but at a much less cost. And so these are the strategies that we've used to get citizens to be part of this campaign on transparency. So the first thing is transparency. Again, we come back again to say that the governments in Africa should, as a matter of principle, open up all of the governance processes, particularly in terms of the resources that they gather, either in taxes or in assets that are recovered. They should open it up to allow citizens to have access to this information. And in doing that, citizens are able to give their voice in terms of the way these resources are being utilized. In terms of service delivery as well, if they open up the space and give citizens access to give feedback to the government in terms of what they are doing for them, then they will be able to see that some contractors are not doing the work they're supposed to be doing, employees of government are not coming to work. That kind of social accountability space is another key policy that we think the government should employ. We talk about open contracting, where when the government spends its money on projects or to help development, the citizens should have access to such contracting processes where they will know who is doing this project, at what cost, and in what location. And then they can give their feedback and to know whether this is truly working, is it meeting the aim, is it meeting the target that the government has set. So these are some options that we think that the government should be promoting to be able to mobilize citizens into this transparent governance. We think that to achieve the SDGs as a key part of development, particularly eradicating poverty, you need resources. There is no way you can achieve poverty eradication without investments. And for those monies to be available to invest in the sectors that affect the poorest people, it is ultimately important that all the leakages are blocked. And this is where we bring transparency into the process. So if the government is losing money through corrupt means, right, there is no money, money is not enough to do development. And so you cannot eradicate poverty. Like you all know, the popular report by Thabo Mbeki, about $50 billion leaving the continent every year. And this, to achieve the SDGs, will be needed about $1.2 trillion to be able to achieve the SDGs by 2030. So you cannot have leakages and then you're also looking for money to do development. And that is why we always require that every loophole or every opportunity to block the leakages for resources, should be done. And that's why transparency and accountability is a key part of that agenda. And fighting corruption, of course, so that money that have been stolen can be recovered, and then when they are recovered, they can be used to do development. And then we can all hope that poverty will be eradicated. Yes, it's a no-brainer. The first thing, let's put a key situation. When people who are corrupt amass illegal wealth or illicit wealth on their own, they amass power with that. And then because of the power they amass, they are able to take over the political space. And if they take over the political landscape, they now become the people that are in charge of the national resources. So corruption just kind of creates a vicious cycle where people who steal now gain power and they remain in power so that they will continue to steal. So that is why we have to really deal with it, and by creating, the way to deal with that is to create institutions. That does not allow, whoever you are, if you come into power, you follow a process, you are accountable, and if you get involved in corruption, you will be caught, and it will be seen that, it will become known that you're trying to get involved in corruption. So, corruption worsens the governance space by perpetuating more corrupt people, into government. And that is why things have continued to go from worse to worse. So yeah, it is important that we will judge our nexus between corruption and governance in Africa. The Africa I want to see is an Africa where the resources and the beauty of the continent, is shared by everyone who is called African. The Africa I want to see is an Africa where the world is actually jealous or envious, and they want to come back here to behold the beauty and to behold the development, to behold the prosperity that we actually have. But for that to happen, we really need to get our acts together.